Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Friday, July 29th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. San Diegans will now have another option when it comes to getting protection from COVID. It's a newly approved vaccine called Novavax, and county health officials say it will be available here this weekend. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado explains what makes it different.
Novavax. By the name, you might guess it's a vaccine. It is. It's a COVID vaccine, but this vaccine is different from most of the ones out there on the front lines against the virus.
In the mRNA vaccines, you're not giving chopping up bits of this protein to the body. You're giving a message, and the body makes this protein.
Dr. Peter Chin Hong is a professor of infectious diseases at the University of California, San Francisco. He says what makes this vaccine different is actually that it's quite ordinary.
The Novavax is using very traditional technology. We've used it for hepatitis vaccines and human papillomavirus vaccines. So it's tried and true, using an old-fashioned method, chopping up bits of what the virus looks like. You send it to the body, and then you develop antibodies.
According to the FDA, overall, the two-dose vaccine was about 90% effective against severe COVID.
San Diego remains in the red tier, both due to our increasing high numbers of cases and our hospitalization rates.
San Diego Public Health Officer Dr. Cameron Kaiser says because COVID remains high in the county, having another tool in the arsenal against the virus is great for San Diegans.
And now Novavax gives people another choice to be protected against COVID-19. San Diegans should get the vaccine that they feel works best for them, and our San Diego County vaccination sites should be getting it in as soon as this weekend, as well as your doctor or pharmacist.
Kaiser also says boosters make a huge difference in preventing infection and/or reinfection, especially if you're in a high-risk category.
Long COVID takes many forms, and it can be disabling to people. The best prevention is not to get it in the first place.
This vaccine is approved for people 18 and over. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
The Biden administration is planning to offer variant-specific booster vaccines this fall. The government recently agreed to buy millions of doses of Pfizer and Moderna. The boosters target the original strain of coronavirus as well as the BA4 and BA5 Omicron subvariants. The purchase agreements are contingent on authorization by the FDA and the CDC. They are expected to be made available to all adults in September. And COVID vaccines are now available to children 6 months and older, but are parents willing to get their kids vaccinated? What a new survey reveals. That's coming up. Local health officials have set up a new monkeypox text alert system. It comes as state health leaders are requesting some 800,000 doses of vaccine from the federal government. As KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman tells us, a national supply shortage means it's unlikely that's happening soon.
Just under 800 cases of monkeypox have been found in California. On Friday, state health leaders gave an update on the outbreak that's infected over 5,000 people nationwide. Officials say 67% of reported cases in California are from San Francisco and Los Angeles counties. San Francisco declared a local health emergency with the rising infections, but state leaders aren't going that far. They are not ruling out an emergency order, but say right now their focus is getting limited number of vaccines to those most at risk. Anyone can contract monkeypox, but currently gay, bisexual, or other men who have sex with men make up the bulk of infections. Officials don't want to stigmatize them, and they're working with LGBTQ groups on messaging and outreach. California's public health officer, Dr. Tomas Aragon, explains how they distribute the limited supply of vaccines to counties.
we're looking at the number of cases that are occurring, and that's the primary driver of where the vaccines are going. So the federal government sends it to California, and then we do that calculation. So San Francisco is getting an amount that corresponds to the burden of cases in the county.
11 people have been hospitalized statewide with no deaths reported, and around 2,200 doses of vaccine have been allocated here. Officials realize it's not enough, and they will open more appointments as supply comes in. Monkeypox is not as transmissible as COVID-19. It requires close contact or using the clothes or bedding of an infected person. It can cause flu-like symptoms and rashes. County officials have launched a monkeypox text alert system where residents can stay up to date with the latest information. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And San Diego County reports new monkeypox cases on Friday evenings, and we just got the update, and the total is now 27. That's up 7 from last week. Stand Down is back in full swing today after being shortened by the pandemic for 2 years. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh has a look at the first day of the event to help veterans dealing with homelessness.
The tents, the flags, the overall look of a military encampment designed to make veterans living on the streets feel at home, all of that is back for Stand Down 2022. The Stand Down is organized by Veterans Village of San Diego, CEO Akila Templeton.
Stand Down historically has been about, not just receiving the services, it's about community. It's a transformative experience. It's meant to be a transformative experience.
Roughly 200 vets had come to Stand Down by Friday morning. They hoped 500 will arrive by the end of the weekend, down from previous years.
We also had a larger population of homeless veterans, and so this year we saw a decrease in veteran homelessness of 30%. That is significant.
Templeton says finding permanent housing for veterans is a growing part of the mission for Veterans Village San Diego, though Stand Down remains relevant. Post-Vietnam veteran Johnny Bird says homeless veterans gravitate to Stand Down.
They won't go into a lot of other services, but when they Stand Down, they tend to gravitate over this way. They tend to come in because they know that, whether it's no questions asked.
The San Diego Homeless Court has been at Stand Down almost since the event began in 1988. Helping people clear away minor violations is still one of the most popular elements of the event. Dorian Gary is the wife of a vet who was a longtime volunteer at Stand Down before he died.
Because I was afraid to go into the court system I was afraid I'd be arrested for a warrant or something. So, and then to what avail? I mean, to what can I tell them? I mean, I just get $700 and something from Social Security, so it's like, it's hard.
Stand Down continues through Sunday at Roosevelt Middle School, just north of Balboa Park. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
A recent investigation by KPBS news partner iNewsSource revealed widespread drug use at a Veterans Village rehab center. And federal authorities are investigating 2 suspected fentanyl overdose deaths on the campus. Leadership at Veterans Village acknowledged a shortage of workers, but said that they are still providing high-quality care. New regulations are now in place for shared electric scooters in the city of San Diego. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says part of the rules look to create fair access to the devices in all neighborhoods.
The new rules include a ban on parking shared scooters and bikes anywhere but in city-approved corrals, slower speeds on sidewalks, and an effort to make scooter companies more accountable for irresponsible riders. There are 4 approved companies, Lime, Lyft, Link, and Spin, that can now provide their services across the city. City Heights CDC Communication Engagement Coordinator Jesse Ramirez says only one of the operators is currently in the City Heights community.
A lot of our community members and residents, they rely on transit as their only mode of transportation. Some of them have to walk quite a distance to get to the transit stop, so definitely having these options would help a lot in the community. So I do see there's a need.
City Council President Shawnilo Rivera says the roads in his district need to be rideable for shared scooters and e-bikes. In a statement, he said District 9 is home to some of the city's most dangerous intersections, and street safety is his priority. The number of total devices has been reduced from 11,000 to 8,000 across the city, and companies must now verify the riders over 16 years old. Ramirez says adding more scooters or e-bikes would help to meet overall transportation needs of the area, especially with gas prices becoming unaffordable to many.
I do see a lot of value in these new regulations, and I think it can help the City Heights community and other historically excluded communities a lot.
Alyssa Maximuto with the city's mobility department said in a tweet that 54 new corrals have been added in Hillcrest, North Park, and Cortez Hill over the past 3 months. She added that corrals will be next added in City Council District 9 and the College area. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
The Chula Vista Police Department is using drones and other high-tech devices, and some residents are expressing concerns about privacy. The city held its second meeting of a task force last night designed to address those concerns. Some residents worry about the data collected by police license plate readers and traffic cameras, and which other agencies are getting their hands on the information.
They all also present avenues at which data can be collected, stored, possibly misused, lost, or given to other agencies without the person's knowledge, and that's a huge privacy issue.
And the city says it may establish a permanent privacy advisory commission to address concerns. It's been 7 months since California required trash haulers to start picking up and composting food waste. But the city of San Diego is still far away from complying. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson says the clock is ticking.
So compost is nutrient-rich.
Renee Robertson runs the city's environmental services department, including the 75-acre greenery site at the Miramar landfill.
It's not soil. It's a soil amendment. It's a nutrient-rich soil amendment. You can see the moisture in it.
This is where green waste, such as grass clippings and shrubbery trimmings, come to get a second life. It's ground up and sequestered under waterproof tarps. Oxygen gets pumped into the piles to speed up the natural composting process.
This is a blower, very small electric engine, and then this is the brain components and the feedback.
It is a process that has been refined over the 2 decades. San Diego officials have been working to keep green waste out of the landfill, unlike regular recycling, which relies on shipping trash far away.
What comes to this facility has been generated within 30 miles, and our final product goes right back out within 30 miles. So I think it's really taking everything that we think about from climate action and really flipping it in the right direction where we're doing it locally.
And the operation is about to get a lot bigger. A new state law that took effect in January requires cities to begin collecting food scraps and composting the organic material. That's because decomposing food in landfills creates methane, a significant greenhouse gas that warms the climate. The Miramar landfill already handles commercial food waste from large vendors like Starbucks, SeaWorld, and the Marine Corps Recruit Depot. But the city has a lot of work to do to upgrade its residential collection system.
Where we've gotten a little bit tripped up, of course, is some of the issues.
City Council member Joe LaCava chairs the Environment Committee. He says some city residents who have private waste haulers are already separating their food scraps, but everyone else won't be able to until the city can ramp up its collection capability. It has to pick up green and organic waste from 285,000 customers every week.
That we're going to switch from the current schedule, which calls for recycling and for greens to be picked up every 2 weeks, to include them on the weekly pickup. Now, what that means is we need more trucks and more drivers for those trucks to really update that collection on a more frequent basis.
LaCava says supply chain issues are keeping 43 new trucks from being delivered until early next year. When the trucks arrive, the city will deliver 240,000 green waste containers and 285,000 food scrap buckets to city residents. The pickup schedule needs to happen weekly because food scraps can attract rodents and other vermin.
We really are very motivated for both environmental reasons and regulatory reasons to get this right at the get-go, make sure everybody understands how this will work.
Cal Recycle is phasing in implementation over a 2-year period. If the city fails to get the program up and running, there could be a notice of violation and fines, but the process allows for ample opportunity to correct the violation before daily fines would be issued. Cal Recycle officials say if the entire state removes food scraps from landfills, it will be the equivalent of removing 3 million cars from local roads.
Well, we're all generating food waste right now. That's what I always like to point out. So we're just going to be putting it in a different bin. We're going to be putting it in our green waste bin along with our green waste.
The city's Renee Robertson says changing the city's trash system is a challenge.
This is going to be a large habit change for millions of residents, and we're going to take the time to do it right.
And city residents will have to adjust for this climate-friendly effort to succeed.
We're really set up well to start receiving this material.
This facility handles about 100,000 tons of compostable material in the course of a year. That's going to grow to 250,000 tons by the time this organics recycling program is fully up and running. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Here's a look at today's weather headlines. Well, the monsoon moisture is going to be increasing as we take you into the weekend. That means some spotty storms inland. Best chances for storms would be in the mountains. Along the coast with clouds, it'll be cooler, but it's seasonally warm in the inland locale. So here's the setup. We have the monsoon moisture coming in on a southeasterly flow. We will see a few thunderstorms moving into our area. Concerns there with some strong outflow winds that could blow a little bit of dust around too. And of course, lightning is dangerous. So if you hear thunder, get indoors. Taking a look at tonight, mainly cloudy here in the metro, 68 degrees. Inland sections, temperatures will be around 70. El Cajon, Escondido, 65. Borrego Springs, another warm night, 79 degrees. So here's the setup for the weekend. Saturday, spotty storms will start to edge westward as that moisture starts to increase. And we can't rule out a stray storm in some of the inland locales here, but a higher chance would be found in the mountains. We'll be in the 70s of the coast, warming into the 90s in the interior. Borrego Springs up to 99. And check out the future radar too. You can see a few little specks starting to pop up during the day Saturday. That's an indication there could be a spotty shower or thunderstorm around. Right into Sunday, so that moisture nearby. So we'll see a few more storms erupting in the mountains and perhaps into the deserts. Here's a look at the temperatures. Next couple of days near the coast, we'll be running in the upper 70s with clouds and some sunshine. Inland sections will warm it into the 80s here. Partly sunny skies. Can't rule out that stray storm. Take you into the mountains. Better chances for storms. Some of those could be heavy. Gets drier Tuesday into Wednesday. And even in the deserts, there could be a storm on the prowl as we dry it out early next week. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
With back-to-school season approaching, millions of school-aged children in the United States are still unvaccinated against COVID-19. And as Cole Higgins reports, many parents say they will not vaccinate their kids against COVID.
With the new school year looming and the COVID-19 variant BA.5 spreading, millions of U.S. children still remain unvaccinated against COVID-19.
We have a lot of parents of young kids who are confused, both about how dangerous COVID is to kids and are confused about the safety of the vaccine.
Just about 45% of 5 to 17-year-olds are fully vaccinated against COVID-19, according to the latest data from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That's about 24 million 5 to 17-year-olds, and around 22 million of them are eligible for a booster shot. But according to CDC data, only about 5 million of those same young people, ages 5 to 17, have gotten a booster dose to fight COVID-19.
The data on the safety of these mRNA vaccines is stellar.
But the uptake of COVID-19 booster shots among eligible school-aged children and teens has been slow, mostly because many children still haven't completed their initial doses of vaccine. A Kaiser Family Foundation study revealing that 43% of U.S. parents of children under 5 say they will not get their child vaccinated due to concerns over safety and long-term side effects.
They're miscalculating that risk versus benefit.
A risk some health officials warn could be deadly.
And let me be clear, COVID was among the top 10 killers of kids of all age groups 1 and up prior to vaccine.
For Health Minute, I'm Cole Higgins.
Researchers also found only 17% of parents of children between 6 months and 5 years old say their child has been vaccinated or will be as soon as possible. The FDA authorized COVID vaccinations in children as young as 6 months in June. The San Diego County Office of Education is offering free help to families trying to get ready for the new school year. And this Sunday, there will be a resource fair featuring everything from COVID testing to child care options and job openings with several school districts. Year-round schools are already open, but most districts start in the next couple of weeks. This is the first time the County Office of Education is bringing together community organizations, health providers, and employers who can support students and help their parents, too.
Join a apprenticeship program or get involved in a career technical education program, this will be the place for them to come and ask, what do you really have, not only for my child, but what do you have for me as a parent and community services surrounding the area that I'm in.
The Free Family Resource Fair happens this Sunday, July 31st from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. on the ENS open fields in the middle of San Diego State Campus. Economic growth is slowing, but have we officially hit a recession? SDSU's Mira Kopik explains why the answer is not so clear-cut in the Friday Business Report.
The economy contracted 0.9%. And this is compounding that now from the first quarter, we saw GDP decline 1.6%. While we're seeing contraction, you're seeing robust economic growth if we look at the employment market. So 3.6% unemployment rate. Unemployment claims have been remarkably low. They declined from last week to this week. And so it's a little bit of a schizophrenic picture in a way. The economy is slowing. Businesses are retrenching. They're slowing down hiring. And with the Fed trying to really slow down inflation, you saw the Fed on Thursday increasing interest rates by 0.3 of a point. So all of that combined would kind of indicate, moving toward a recessionary window. And so until that, the National Bureau of Economic Research kind of comes out and says formally we are or we're not, the likelihood is that we're officially not. But if the labor market deteriorates over the next couple of months, we certainly will be if that economic growth number continues to stay below a growth number.
As interest rates climb, experts predict a slowdown in housing demand. But as Gloria Pazmino shows us, some buyers are trying to find opportunity in what many consider a bleak economic outlook.
Gene Mammerl is on the cusp of achieving his lifelong dream.
I've always wanted to live in a major city, and New York always just appealed to me.
He works in IT for medical education, and since moving to the city in 2014, he's joined the thousands of New Yorkers who pay rent and live with roommates. But things shifted recently after rent for his $3,900 a month, two-bedroom Manhattan apartment was set to increase by nearly $1,000.
It's not going to get any cheaper to rent, and I'm basically just almost throwing away money for renting.
So he decided to enter the housing market despite an increase in interest rates, even if it means relying on family members for help.
I'm stable enough that I could put in for a mortgage, and I might as well just go ahead and go for it, especially with my sister and my parents helping me.
But not all potential buyers are in the same position. As the Federal Reserve continues to fight inflation, borrowing costs are increasing.
You have two buckets of buyers. You have the buckets of buyers for who they simply will no longer be able to afford the same price point with the higher interest rates. And then you also have the buckets of buyers who can afford anything in the world.
This week, members of the U.S. Central Bank approved yet another interest rate hike of 0.75 percentage point. That likely means higher interest rates for mortgages, which have seen some of the sharpest increase in decades.
The housing market's taking it on the chin right now. Even in the big metros like LA, San Francisco, New York, where you might get jumbo loans, you've moved from 2.5% to almost 5%. So it's naturally going to slow down demand for homes just because homes have gotten that much more expensive.
That could lead to a cooling of the housing market.
I don't think we're going to see plummeting. I think we're going to see very steady, stable pricing, not where it was a year ago, but we're not going to see New York fall 40%.
For now, Gene is moving ahead with his purchase.
People flock here. You have your ebbs and flows of going in and out. The mortgage, I figure the rate itself, yes, it may jump up, but I figure I'll have a chance later on to refinance if it ever drops down to a significantly low level.
Gloria Pazmino, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, deadly floods hit Kentucky and other parts of Appalachia
and the Midwest. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The story of 4,000 beagles rescued from a lab testing breeding facility in Virginia has touched hearts of animal lovers across the country. And Helen Woodward Animal Center says it has been flooded with emails, phone calls, and donations since they took in 43 of the beagles. Today, they opened up applications for the dogs, and they're looking for adopters who have experience with beagles or with apprehensive dogs and have a fenced-in yard. Some older beagles will need to go home with children older than 12 years old. Potential adopters will be contacted once the application is submitted. You can apply online at animalcenter.org. A truly life-changing event is about to happen in just a few hours.
All right, here we go.
That is, if someone correctly picks all the right numbers in tonight's $1.28 billion Mega Millions jackpot. It's the third largest prize of any lottery game in the U.S. and is a result of 29 consecutive drawings without a winner. The cashier at Golden Hill Market says he has sold a lot of tickets lately.
People have been coming by on their way to work, coming out of work, just buying that quick pick or buying that ticket to change their life, you know what I mean?
And the odds of matching all 5 of those numbers and the mega number are, here it is, 1 in 302 million. So numbers will be picked at 8 p.m. tonight. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.